lab handout, it says you need to be able to identify the salivary glands. So I would just want you to identify it from a picture. You don't have to find this out, okay, on the slide, because you have other slides to look at. So just know what a salivary gland looks like, the mucous glands, and the serous. Am I the only one feeling that, or is it shaking?
It's shaking.
Okay. So serous cell forming. So you don't need to know all these details. Just know the structure, location. So that picture is important. The next structure we're going to look at is esophagus. Here is the esophagus. You saw the esophagus when you were studying the trachea as well. Behind the trachea was the collapsed esophagus. Here you just have the simple plain esophagus. What gland looks most prominent to you all? The adventitia is different, so it's different from the serosa, but you also see that this layer here, from here to here, the muscularis externa is pretty thick, right? I don't know if all of you can see it. If something is in your way, you can put it down. So the muscularis externa, compare that to any other tissue you see, it's kind of very muscular. You have a thick circular muscle layer and then a longitudinal muscle layer here. Obviously, because the esophagus is is involved in peristalsis, pushing food down. So that's a layer that you have to study. So just write down the page number in your textbook. It's figure, what figure is it? It's not showing here what figure it is. Does it show? No. But open up your textbook and just kind of look at that. And so you can see that the entire mucosa, as well as the submucosa, is thrown into folds because the muscularis mucosae is very prominent here. And so this is the lumen. So when there's no food, the mucosa and the submucosa is really, really thrown into folds, and then they kind of expand and the food passes through the thing. So these cells here are also simple stratified what does it say? Yeah, stratified squamous epithelium. We talked about that, stratified. So from the oral cavity down to the esophagus, you have stratified squamous epithelial cells. So here is a slide that shows the stratified layer here. This layer, stratified squamous epithelium, highly magnified. So they're showing the stratified squamous epithelial layer. Mucosa contains stratified squamous epithelium here. This slide is important because it shows you how the bolus is formed. You can see the yellow bolus there, or the food. As you begin to swallow, the epiglottis will begin to come down and shut off the glottis opening here, and then food goes down the oropharynx into the laryngopharynx. You can see the top of the upper esophageal sphincter here. At the very beginning of this esophagus is constricted here. There's a circular band of muscles here, extra band of muscles that act as sphincters. They keep the esophagus closed so that food, it opens up only when the food comes to this region. So this is the upper esophageal sphincter. It's contracted, and you'll see as the food comes to that region, the sphincter relaxes and it allows food to go in. You can see the epiglottis has closed off the opening into the larynx. So food is forced to go down the esophagus. And then as the food goes past that point, the upper esophageal sphincter also closes. Now, if you're sitting at a weird angle, feel free to get up and sit in a way where you don't have to strain your neck at all. I want to just go over a couple of slides before I show you the cat. So now, as the food comes down the esophagus, you can see peristalsis is causing the circular muscles to contract here and push the food forward. The bolus is moving forward. And when the region where the esophagus meets the stomach, you have another sphincter here, and that is called the gastroesophageal sphincter. Sometimes it's also referred to as the lower esophageal sphincter. So what was the one on top called? upper esophageal sphincter. So you have the lower esophageal sphincter or the gastroesophageal sphincter, because it's between the gastric stomach and the esophagus. That sphincter has a very important role. Can any of you guess what purpose could that sphincter serve? The gastroesophageal sphincter. Right. It prevents the contents of the stomach from regurgitating back into the esophagus, because you know the esophagus doesn't have a lot of mucus lining here, so the minute the acid from the stomach gets in there, it's going to destroy all the epithelial cells there. So that's a problem there. So, and that's what's called acid reflux. Now, you all have occasional acid reflux. That's okay when you have a lot of spicy food or oily food, or you eat food and you exercise or something, you know, swimming, etc. Sometimes you're forcing the food to get, you know, regurgitated back into the esophagus. But in some people, either due to age or due to some kind of injury or genetically, the sphincter is not as tight, it doesn't work as efficiently, so it doesn't come together when your stomach is filled with food, and so even just leaning back or lying down can cause contents to regurgitate. Not a whole lot, you just need to have a small amount of acid go there to create that severe burning sensation. That, you know, when we have that, it tells us how potent the contents of the stomach are, how acidic it is. You can really feel the burning sensation. If you have it for a couple of weeks on end, you can even feel the burning sensation in the neck region. I mean, not neck, what am I saying? In the pharyngeal region, right? You have that acidity burning feeling, and when it becomes a continuous thing, it is called GERD. It stands for gastroesophageal reflux